April showers may bring May flowers, but it also brings the May primary election this year. And with us on the 18 WJTS set, of course, hello and welcome to your 18 WJTS In.form. I'm Kaitlyn Neukam, and today we have the Dubois County Clerk, Amy Kippenbrock, here today to talk about everything election. So welcome, Amy.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So we've got quite a bit to talk about, but we have officially been into early voting season for about a week or so now in the county, and the political ads are running. I'm seeing yard signs everywhere. So what does that kind of mean for our little vicinity here in Dubois County?
Yeah, so early voting is underway. Primary season is here, so please go out and vote. Would love to give you information on how to make all that happen. We did start early voting. We're at a good, steady, normal trickle at the beginning of our early voting, like we normally are. Mm-hmm. It's usually kind of a slower start, and it'll pick up as we get closer to the election. So it's been pretty good for a start for the primary.
Fantastic. So, Amy, for someone, like myself, I really didn't understand a lot of the election process and the different, election types. So we're in the spring and we're doing the primary, and then more times than not in the fall is when the general election is. So what is the difference there?
Yeah, so that's a really common question. We get a lot of phone calls at the office that ask about that. So when the primary happens, it is to pick your representative of those parties to represent you in the fall. Mm-hmm. That's the idea. So you're narrowing the field of candidates that have filed to run for these offices. So when you come in to vote in a primary, you have to pick either Republican or Democratic ballot style. Mm-hmm. So you're picking that ballot style, and then you're seeing those candidates that have filed for office of those two parties. So if you come in and you say you want the Republican ballot, you're only going to see Republican candidates. Mm-hmm. If you choose the Democratic ballot, you're only going to see those candidates. Sometimes people don't want to choose one or the other, but the purpose of the primary is to narrow the field of candidates to see who will represent those parties in the fall. There are other opportunities for people to get on the ballot if you're not Republican or Democratic, mm-hmm. but they're not in the primary. So if you run as an independent or you run as a libertarian, you will file your paperwork in the summertime and you get on the fall ballot. So you have to choose one or the other when you come in to vote for the primary. That's a really common question. It's just do a little homework and figure out who you want to vote on so you know which ballot they're on, and then come in to choose that when you check in at the voting location.
So we will definitely talk about when and where to vote, because that's super important in our vote center county. But before that, you really mentioned doing your research, and a fantastic resource that even I was able to use with very much ease. I was able to actually reference other people to look up their ballots themselves is indianavoters.com, right?
Yeah, that's a huge resource that we have in the state of Indiana. It has so much information for voters. If you have any kind of questions related to elections, you can go to indianavoters.com. You can find out how you're registered, like what's mm-hmm. your address. Maybe you've moved recently, or since you voted the last time, you can update your voter registration address or your name on your registration. You can find when and where your polling locations are for your county. You can find out who's on your ballot. Just a wealth of information on that website that's available to all voters in the state of Indiana.
Yes, and again, I'm not the most election-centric, unfortunately. I'm not, let's say, politically inclined, but I was able to go on indianavoters.com. I was able to see all the various names, some that I was familiar with, some that I maybe am not as familiar with, and you can at least run down who it is, what party they're running with, of course, and what seat or what position they're vying for. And from there you just take it and kind of do your own research, and you can make a better better choice or better guess versus just going into a blank ballot and hoping for the best.
Yeah, doing your homework and doing a little research is really, I encourage that. I think that it's important for everyone to show up to vote, but I really would like everyone to come in with a little information or a little research done so they know what's driving them to the ballot. And it's really worth mentioning, once you get to the ballot, you can vote for just one thing or you can vote for everything. So they're going to give you the ballot that's related to where you live. Your voter registration is what dictates what ballot you get as far as what offices you get to vote on. And then you can make selections across the entire ballot, or you can make one selection or anything in between. There may be multiple offices. Maybe there's multiple people that can run for an office. So like county council has 3 at-large seats. So 3 candidates would be the winners, if you will, in the fall. But there may be multiple candidates that you can vote on a single office. So just going to indianavoters.com before you go vote is really important so you can see who those people or those candidates are before you get there, and you can do a little research on your own. If for some reason that doesn't work, maybe you can't get to indianavoters.com, you can always stop in an open polling location or before you go vote and ask to see a sample ballot. So they have sample ballots at the voting locations, or you can stop at the clerk's office and pick up a sample ballot just so you can be well informed before you go into the polling location to actually cast your ballot.
So you can actually take the answers to the multiple choice test home with you?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Again, I think we get scared and we get timid, or we think, why do I want to show up to these general or primary elections? And if I don't think my choices matter, but they do. They matter a lot, and this is the primary really sets the tone for how the general is going to go in the fall. So being able to narrow down the field and get the candidates more selected and finalized so that, when November comes around, we are ready to lock in those answers is super important. Yeah. So, you can get your resources, do your homework beforehand. So when we are ready to vote, how can we do early voting? And of course, our primary date is May 7th.
Yes.
So, before then, what can we do to get our votes in?
Yeah, so we have lots of options and ways that people can come in to cast their ballots. So early voting in person, we have several options. We're at the courthouse annex for several weeks before the election. We're at the 35th Street Fire Station in Jasper for a week before. The 2 Saturdays before the election, we're all around the county. So the courthouse annex, the 35th Street Fire Station in Jasper, the Ferdinand YMCA, and Huntingburg Event Center. So we have lots of options on 2 Saturdays before that you can stop in at any of those locations to cast your ballot. One thing that we do that's really unique here in Dubois County is we do what's called a roaming board. And what that means is we simply roam around the other areas of the county to allow people that don't want to come into town or for whatever reason it's not convenient. So you can go in those locations that we're at. On Monday of that week, we're at St. Henry CK of A. And then on Tuesday, we go to the Hayesville Fire Station. Wednesday, we're at Schnellville Fire Department. Thursday, we're in Dubois at the library. And on Friday, we're in Birdseye at their fire department. So super convenient for people to get out and vote, whether it be, at the courthouse annex for a month before or any of those roaming boards the week before. If it's closer to you and it's more convenient, then you can stop in. We want you to show up and vote. You get to vote one time, but you can stop at any of those open locations. When you come to vote, we want you to bring your photo ID. So most people will use a driver's license or the BMV ID card. Sometimes they'll use a military ID or a passport. It has to be a government-issued photo ID with an expiration date. So if you're questioning if you don't have any of those things I mentioned and you have something else, you can call and find out if it's going to work, or you can go to indianavoters.com and you can check to see what are the requirements. But it's super convenient to stop in at any open location that's convenient for you. So those are kind of the early voting options. If none of those work for you, you can come on Election Day. So Election Day in the state of Indiana is May 7th. We're open 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. As long as you're in line at 6 p.m. or before, you are going to get the chance to vote. We have 9 different locations throughout the county.
That's what I was about to ask.
Yeah, so we have, again, they're pretty traditional places that we've been for a number of years. In Jasper, we'll be at the Jasper Moose Lodge and the 10 Clark Cultural Center. So easy to get in and out of locations. You know, at both of those locations, there's parking in the back of the building. So I just kind of watch for the signs when you come to those locations. St. Mary's Community Center in Ireland, Holland United Methodist Church, Huntingburg Event Center, St. Anthony Community Center, the YMCA in Ferdinand, Dubois Rureton Park, and Celestine Community Club. So again, many of those places we've been at for a number of years. They are great partners to us in the election process. A lot of them charge us very minimal fees to use their facilities because they know the elections are just that important. So we appreciate all of those partners that welcome us to use their facilities and partner with us in a way that they help us when we come. We bring so many supplies, but you know, they might be supplying tables and chairs and accommodating to our poll workers as well. So we appreciate all of those partnerships, and we want to make it convenient for voters to have a place to vote that's convenient for them. You know, I feel like I've said convenient many times, and that's what it's about. We went to Vote Center County a couple years ago just for that convenience and that flexibility for voters to have.
I remember my dad pounded it into my head, hey, you need to go to the Jasper Middle School to cast your vote when I had just turned of age. And now you can vote anywhere, and that is fantastic. You can go vote before you go grocery shopping, or if you're going to go pick up the kids after school. The flexibility is there as long as you know your vote center locations for early voting and whatnot. And Amy, I want to ask to make sure we speak it or bring it to light. How long does it take to cast a vote typically?
Yeah, like less than 2 minutes. I think that if you stopped in the courthouse annex today, you could come in. As long as you've done your homework, I think you could probably be in and out of our location in less than 5 minutes. You know, if there's 1 or 2 people in front of you in line, we get you processed in and get you on a machine so you can make your selections. The machines are super easy to use. Just push the buttons next to the names that you want to select. If you make a mistake, you just push the button again to unselect it. A couple years ago, the state of Indiana told us we needed to use some kind of paper trail. So we implemented another piece of equipment with the machines that we've had for a number of years. And it shows you how the machine is recording your vote. So you know the buttons you've pushed and how the machine is actually recording it. You don't get a piece of paper to take with you, but you do see that it's there. And it's secret. Your name's not attached to it. But it's kept internally in that machine. So if for some reason there is ever a question, we can do a recount or we can do an audit and we can check all of those results. So it's super easy, it's super quick, and it's safe and it's secure and it's really accurate. I say that with pride because in the last few years we've had a recount last year, and we were 100% the same results on election night as we were in the recount. And then we also had a post-election audit a couple years ago, and we showed a 100% result. So we are accurate with the results that we tally on election night. So we want you to show up. We want to make it convenient so it works for you and your scheduling. And then we'll count all of those ballots up at the end of the election and turn those results in.
Fantastic. And I think I do remember seeing the printed version of the ballot. It's like a encased receipt. You see what your selections are, you see them all listed out, and then when you're done, it gets it's enclosed as a device, of course, that's separate, but it just takes it and moves on to the next person and makes it blank and then goes from there. So it's super convenient, super fast. If you have any issues or need some help with it, that's what the poll workers are for during those times. And are there any reminders that you want voters to kind of know before or as they plan their trip to the ballots? Yeah, so just reminder, bring your photo ID with you and remind you that you will have to pick a party or a ballot style that you want to vote on. And I would like to mention,
even though you're picking a party for your ballot style, you are a registered voter. You are not registered to a party. That seems like a most common question every year for every primary. You are a registered voter in the state of Indiana. I think at one time maybe you were registered to a party, but that's not been the case for a number of years. So you can pick and choose whatever ballot style you want when you come into the location, and then choose the candidates of your choice. If you have questions, IndianaVoters.com is a great resource. And just remind you that you can go to any of the open locations. You just go once, but you can go to any of the open locations that's most convenient for you, whether it be early voting or on election day. I think that it's really important that we reiterate that time and time again. Just super easy to get in and out, and just takes a few minutes of your time to make some choices that could have a huge impact on your life.
Yes, and we talk about participating in the vote. There are opportunities for volunteers and poll workers to contact the clerk's office and get involved in the behind the scenes, right?
Yes, and we're still looking for poll workers. So if you're one of those people that you want to know more about the election process, being a poll worker is a great way to find out more about it and to interact with other people in your community. So many times I get questions about the legitimacy of the election or process questions, and that's a perfect way to learn more about it and to understand the back end of things. And it's a really, most of our poll workers are your friends and neighbors and maybe family members. So if you know somebody that already is a poll worker, ask them about their experience. We want them to have a positive experience, and we try to get all the feedback from them as we go each election. But we are still looking for poll workers. So if you're interested, you can call me at the office, and we can see what's the most convenient location. Maybe you live on one part of the county and you don't want to drive to the other part of the county for election day. That's okay. But if there's something that we can work out, then we'll be happy to bring you on and give you the training you need and get you involved in the process.
Fantastic. Amy, thank you so much for all this information. I know maybe for some viewers it seems like a lot to go over, but this is why we cannot stress enough how important voting is. Doesn't matter if it's the primary or general, getting out and sharing your thoughts, no matter however you come to the ballots. I mean, just showing up and putting in your input is super important.
I agree. Everyone should have an opinion, whatever it is that drives you there. We want you to make that choice and have an enjoyable experience while you do it, and then tell your friends and family to make sure that they go vote. So thanks so much for having me today. I like talking about elections, so it's been a great time.
You do a great job as always. Never doubt it, of course. And we hope everyone shows up for early voting until we get to the May 7th date. And then if you haven't put it in there, that's your last final call. So best of luck with the rest of the voting season, and I suppose we'll see you in November as well.
Thank you so much.
Closer to November.
Yeah. I'll be back to talk about the general election later. Yep.
Fantastic. But thank you so much at home for watching. Make sure you go vote this April into May, of course, May 7th. Get out and vote. And this has been your 18 WJTS In.form with the Dubois County Clerk, Amy Kippenbrock, and we are local people watching local people.